Okay, so today we are looking at the underrated show, Crash Test Dummies, a 2007 British show that was about science and experiments. The show lasted for 18 episodes and was hosted by Dan Wright and Steve Marsh. Yes, those two. They smash, crash and destroy their way to answer questions that have been previously unasked. So now that we have the background, let's take a look at the only episode I could find. So we see some mannequin chopping away at the bushes as a dog barks. We are in Dummy World. We then hear an alarm go off at Crash Test Corner as we then get a montage of what is coming up on the show. We then get a warning as they tell us to be safe and use our stunt doubles when doing experiments. Steve and Dan tell us if we do anything at home we probably end up dead. Thanks for that, lads. So it's Monday as the boys are watching TV as they watch Dan playing a character on the TV. Dan then asks a question about airbags on the outside of cars as Steve is confused. Dan suggests bubble wrap as they go off to test it. So they wrap the cars in the bubble wrap to see if they can protect the car. They then show off some monster trucks as Dan says he is in love with them. They get in as they drive over the cars. It's quite exciting to see, but it doesn't work. The boys are disappointed as Steve wants more layers on the cars next time. They head home as Jake the mannequin is watching some TV about power tools. We see the trench rammer as the boys show it off in a comedy bit. They use the trench rammer on the suitcase to close it. It's all very silly as we then get to Tuesday. So the mannequins are washing their car as Steve is making his favorite sandwich. Dan is in the bath as he is out of shampoo. He calls Steve up as Dan demands more shampoo or he ain't coming out the bath. Steve comes up with an idea to move the bath or something. He creates a movable bath as they arrive in a park. The narrator explains everything as Dan then drives the bath. It somehow works. I'm impressed. Dan is out of water as he gets out the bath to get the shampoo, but the shop is sold out. Dan is angry as he heads home. We now see another power tool, a very beautiful wrench, very nice. It's Wednesday as the boys are at the pool being lifeguards. The mannequin starts drowning as the boys go to save him. They give him mouth to mouth as they save him. Steve says the mannequin was just thinking how wet you would have to be bulletproof. So they head home to test that silly idea as they head into the bunker. So they shoot at a watermelon behind a water bottle to see if the water stops it. It doesn't. The watermelon is destroyed as they try with 2 bottles. The narrator explains everything about water. 2 bottles is not enough as Dan says thanks for the safety equipment, so they do 4 bottles as the watermelon is saved because it gets stuck in the 3rd bottle. They head home again as the magazine arrives. They talk about bubble wrap once more and how to climb trees with it. It's very stupid as the boys are just messing about. So it's Thursday now as the mannequins are playing pub games. The boys are playing Battleship as they then talk about their childhood. Steve says we got to make battleships bigger as they go back to the park to do just that. They make a huge game of Battleship as they blow cars up. It's pretty funny to watch and I wish I could do this at home. Dan wins the game as he blows up his own car. His face is a picture. Steve tells him to calm down. Steve says they should do Operation Next as they go home. We watch some more TV as the TV presenters use a big gardening tool on some stuffed teddies. They rip them all up. So time for Friday now as Dan is dancing away. Steve comes in with a newspaper as he shows off a bucking bronco challenge. Dan reminds Steve of the last time he did the challenge as Steve wants a way to cheat the contest. So they get the toolbox as they suit up. They mess around on the bucking bronco as they use some Velcro as Steve holds on for 41 seconds. They try something else as they use nails to stick themselves to the ball. He holds on for 58 seconds as they then use glue. He can't get off as he gets stuck for over 90 seconds. Steve throws up as Dan rushes home. So we then get a crime scene game as we have to guess which tool caused the scene. It is revealed as the saw. It is arrested and charged as we get to Saturday. The boys are washing up as Dan then throws and breaks his favorite mug. Steve then shows Dan to some indestructible bowls. Dan says they aren't special as Steve talks about edible underpants. So Steve starts to dance as Dan then joins in. Dan then suggests a bull in the china shop as they go off to test it. So Steve explains everything as the bull gets introduced. So the bull isn't happy as he doesn't do anything. Dan then uses the famous red cape as he tries to get the bull to do something. It still doesn't work as the bull is very boring. So they give up on the bull as they head to play some baseball with the bowls. They break all the bowls as Dan makes a mess. Steve surprises Dan with another one of his favorite cups as he breaks it. Dan finds out as he breaks down in tears. They then make a silly joke about if you are going to crouch, bend your knees. So we have finally reached Sunday as the boys are asleep. We then get a flashback as Steve is buying cards for the tests as Dan walks in and Steve says he is trying to organize a surprise. So back in the present day the doorbell rings as the boys get up. They open the door to a granny buggy. Dan is unimpressed as the narrator talks all about the buggy. So Steve has plans for the buggy as he fixes it up. He comes out with a load of mirrors. Dan is confused as Steve explains what he has done. So Dan goes around an obstacle course as Dan is impressed. They then get angry at the cardboard cutouts. They use a cannon to shoot at the cardboard cutouts as the narrator then recaps what we have learnt. Dan then forces the buggy to crash into a concrete wall as it smashes into loads of pieces. Steve is upset as all his sweets are over the floor. So they head home as they then do a magic trick with a sheep. So they head to the sofa as they do a recap on what they did this week. The episode then ends. Overall, Crash Test Dummies was a stupid show as it was very silly but also very educational as it taught us about some experiments we have never thought about before. Dan and Steve were great and you can see they are lifelong friends as they have good chemistry. While it may be a little rude for younger kids, it is a good watch and I like it. So thank you for watching. If you have any TV shows you like to see me do, put them in the comments.